All right, as announced at the beginning, my name is Eric Daw. I'm the Communications 911 Manager for Clinton County. A lot of people are under the misconception that we just sit around and wait for the 911 calls to come in. We actually are responsible for answering, as I mentioned in the video, all the non-emergency lines for all 4 law enforcement agencies in Clinton County. So we also, in addition to that, we dispatch for 16 fire departments that serve Clinton County and 8 ambulance services that serve the county. In 2015, we had over 50,000 calls for service. In the past 4 years, our calls for service has increased by almost 30% in the past 4 years. So even though the population of Clinton County has decreased, as we all have seen on the news, our calls for service keep going up and up and up. And I don't see any end in sight as far as for the increase in the calls for service. As you can see, we did have a space needs analysis done. The space needs analysis came back that we should have 3,393 square feet of space. Currently, we're housed in 600 square feet of space. Of that 600 square feet, part of that is my office, and another part is 2 separate equipment rooms where we have some of our equipment that's housed. We also had a staffing study that was done as well. The staffing study came back that we should be able to staff 4 people on duty during peak times and 3 people on duty during any other time. As I mentioned in the video, currently we can't do that because we only have 3 dispatch consoles. There's absolutely no more room for additional dispatch consoles to be put in there. As a matter of fact, as many of you know, we're in the 10-mile emergency protection zone for the Cordova nuclear power plant. And as a result of that, they require us to have some extra equipment that's in our office. They're making a transition to try to put all of their forms and things like that in a digital format, and we're supposed to have a dedicated computer and computer monitor to have that done. Right now, I'm on the phone almost daily with Exelon, arguing with them because they are insisting that I have to have this equipment. I have told them there's absolutely no room to put this equipment. That's how tight it is in there. We don't have space to add another computer tower or monitor in our space. The sheriff had also mentioned some of the infrastructure issues that we have in our facility. As he mentioned, a lot of people have to put blue tarps on their desks at night. Unfortunately, with our electronics equipment, as many of you know, that generates a lot of heat. So we don't have the option of putting tarps on our areas that aren't occupied 24/7 because it would be a fire hazard. Another issue we had is just last week, we had an issue where there was a sewer backup that was in the Sallyport, which is where the inmates are brought in to the facility when they're newly arrested. The sewage backup had started to seep into one of our rooms where our radio equipment is housed. Right now, we're in the process of acquiring new radio equipment within the communications center, and that's at a cost of $150,000. So if that would reach the radio equipment, it would be a significant cost for our communications department. Another issue that we have is safety. The break room for my staff is located, again, just off the Sallyport. So when inmates get arrested, a lot of times, as you can imagine, they're not the happiest people in the world. So if my staff's in there taking a break, they have to deal with people who are potentially violent, yelling, screaming, cussing, whatever the situation may be. Another issue that we also have is when inmates are going for their court appearances, they come off the elevator, which is just to the back side of our facility. So every time that an inmate comes down from the jail, if one of my employees is in the hallway, they have to come face to face with that inmate, which again could potentially be a safety concern if that inmate would choose to get violent at that time. Lastly, another issue that we have, the sheriff oftentimes mentions since he's been in office, there's been 2 completed escapes. As a result of those escapes, some security measures have been put into place. So inmates are required by Iowa jail standards to have 2 times per week of recreation outside of their jail cell. Well, when the weather's nice and they go outside, they go to the large concrete structure that's on the north side of our facility. When the inmates are being moved to that structure, a large part of the building gets locked down to prevent any additional escapes. When the building's locked down, that limits my staff and their movement. So my staff does not have access to the employee restroom or the break room when those inmates are being moved outside. So they can't even fulfill the most basic human needs. Many people have asked, well, why can't you expand? Well, we're kind of locked in where we're at. We have the staircase to one side, the lobby to the other, a narrow hallway, and the elevator shaft. Now, we've already expanded 3 times since we've been in existence, so it's simply not an option. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Margaret.